Welcome to the Santa Cruz Coffee Break. If you're watching on YouTube or listening on Apple Podcast, please follow, hit the like button, or any subscribes. It really helps us with the algorithms. Santa Cruz Coffee Break is produced by the Santa Cruz Guitar Players Forum. All opinions are those of the speakers. We invite you to join us on the Santa Cruz Guitar Players Forum at SCGCPF for more fun. Now, let's get on with this installment of Santa Cruz Coffee Break. I would love to welcome everybody to the 107th Santa Cruz Guitar Players Forum podcast. And today, for me, it's a trip down memory lane a little bit. We go back to my roots in South Dakota and Haggerty's music, where at one time I purchased a 1957 Stratocaster from Haggerty's for $225. I'd like to do that again today, please, if you have one in stock. So we'd like to welcome Marcus from Haggerty's Music. I bought my 69 Les Paul Custom from you too. So, wow. When I found out you were a Santa Cruz dealer, and a big shout out to Bob Morgret for kind of connecting us here. But I'm really excited to hear about this. The fact that you're still there and you're still in business and growing, and I'm looking at the wall behind you. Welcome in.
Thank you so much for having us. It's a huge honor to be a part of this. And yes, big thanks, Bob Margaret. That's we were just getting to hear the story, and Bob's been a huge supporter the whole time I've been a part of Haggerty's, which was since 2015. And Dan and Tom Haggerty were so gracious to allow me into the business. And so in 2019, they retired, and we've been able to really create some amazing experiences and continue to expand. And as we've gone down this road, Santa Cruz has always been one of those mentioned brands. Just the legacy that you guys have just like, oh, what if we, what if? And so to be a Santa Cruz dealer and to get our first unboxing
Yeah.
and playthrough, right? Like
Yeah.
I can't begin to describe this model that's right here to my left. That was one of the first ones I opened up and I strummed. And having strummed thousands and thousands and thousands of guitars, I was just blown away.
Yeah.
And so I was like, sometimes you anticipate things and you're excited for things and you're like, is it, and it kind of falls flat. And then sometimes there's not words. So thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, I was up at the shop about 10 days ago, and I got to see the first guitar that they ever made. They just bought it back. They found it and bought it back. And I saw the 20,000th, and I saw a new one that they're making there's a big show coming up this summer with the Santa Cruz Museum of Art and History that's going to feature Santa Cruz. And and the guitars. And the guitar they built for it was all local wood. It was redwood from the river, and sycamore from. They dated it about 5,000, 6,000 year old. When they dug up a street, they found this log, and you know, Richard, Richard has a wood problem.
Yeah.
Um, a serious one. And if you ever get out to see the shop, I don't know if you've been out to see it, but when you walk in the wood vault, it's just without words what they have in there. And it was great I got to spend a couple hours with Richard. It was great to spend a couple hours with him. We don't get as much time with him as we used to, and I'm I, I'm just I'm really kind of without words about your store. From everything Bob tells me, it's an amazing place.
Thank you. Yes. without trying to sound like braggadocious or to convey it in a way that would be unfairly weighted.
You can beat your chest.
Um, we have people fly in from all over the country to come here and pick out guitars and drive in almost on like a pilgrimage, which is funny because I remember growing up in the small town of Redfield, South Dakota with 5,800 people, and the only thing around to make a noise on would be, whatever you'd maybe find in a town that was nearby. You'd take a pilgrimage, and Haggerty's Music was where I took a pilgrimage to in 2006 to buy my first real guitar um, that I needed. I needed a great acoustic, and I had to drive 6 hours to do that. And now to actually own that store and to remember how much that is needed for musicians to have a place of inspiration. That's what I keep telling my staff is when somebody walks in, you'll always get the, oh, I'm just looking. And we are looking, all of us,
Yeah.
right?
Constantly.
And what we're looking for is inspiration. You're looking for something that allows you to play something that you've never conceived in your mind that opens a pathway of new tone, new ways to play, new ways to hear, and that's what makes me want to buy a guitar. Is when I pick something up, I'm like, oh, whoa, I've never played that lick before.
Yeah.
This might be something, right? And so whatever it is, my go-to mission is to have great people caring about musicians, bringing inspiration, creating this environment that that you can walk in, be cared for, and have a great experience. And so we just keep pushing that limit. Now we're about, I think, 12,000 square foot of different settings of inspiring guitars and instruments and constant training. And that thus bringing in Santa Cruz because it is different. And getting to hear the story about the woods that you're talking about and some of the combinations that you guys have done, the woods from cathedrals and ships. And it's just like these guys are guitar people. These are craftsmen, wood people. It's like the best of old world craftsmanship meets geeking out on wood and refinement and artistry all in this beautiful package that I think defines acoustic guitars and people who really appreciate those things like me. I grew up as a woodworker. My dad, we worked in a wood shop from the time I was young. I've made my own electric guitar. We built a sailboat, and so being in this culture of crafting, what you guys are doing is so fun to tell the story
Oh, yeah.
about, right? And I can't even tell it like you guys tell it, but yeah, it's so fun to make what is already a amazing experience store give it another level to this cake and be like, yeah, have you seen this brand?
Yeah.
Right?
It is stunning. The stuff that's coming out of the factory right now in the shop is just it's it's way over the top of anything they've made before.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just it's
Hmm.
so far up there. And Richard has a wood problem, and every time he hears about a log or a, a tunnel or he's he's trying to figure out how to get it. And their commitment to sustainability and reusing woods versus new wood and all that it's industry leading. And when you think about it, this is one of the very first people to start the boutique industry.
Yeah.
You know, Richard really started it. You know, it was John Gurion in New York in the '60s, but the necks were an inch and a half wide, and humans couldn't play them. And then there was Bob mobiling around. I bought an 855 out of Bob's trunk. that was serial
Hmm.
number 2102. About three serial numbers from Neil's, uh, 855. I bought it out of his trunk, and where they've come and how they've grown, and how Santa Cruz has grown and been able to maintain their level of expertise. It really is the top of the cake.
Yeah.
I know there's some other great builders out there, but boy, when you pick up something up there, this guitar for the
Yeah.
museum show was
I,
unearthly.
yeah. I think that the story of Haggerty's is one that you need to tell. We were talking about that a little bit before we started. You started out, you were saying, as literally a department in a department store, and basically have grown from there to, you were saying, 12,000 feet of retail alone on top of everything else you're doing, which I think is worth telling people about because that's a tremendous success story and rather inspirational to people who are missing music stores in their areas.
Yeah, it is a fascinating story. I've been told I need to write a book.
Yeah,
But
or at
the
least a
short,
long podcast.
a long podcast, really drawn out. Um, with the saddest story, we're out of coffee, so I'm drinking water because we're out of beans. I mean, it's
Uh,
terrible.
It's South
But
Dakota.
but yeah, Tom Haggerty, his father started in 1963 as a department store, and he was a musician, and he went to Nashville and did an album, and he felt a calling back to Rapid City. He didn't know what he was going to do, and he lands in Rapid City, and he sees this department store, and he's like, I want to put some instruments in this store. And so his dad gives him this small corner in the very back. I mean, I've been told these stories since I've gotten here. This small department, and you probably remember maybe that small department in the back of this store. And there's some other brands that have since other stores have faded. And push comes to shove, department stores kind of filter out. They had an opportunity to sell their building to a big grocer, and they seen the writing on the wall, so they took it and they moved the music store, which seemed to have a lot of traction, into a standalone business with a luggage and vacation travel store as well that they were doing to kind of set the time frame that you could still make money doing that. And eventually that part faded off, and the only thing that was left is the music store. And so they were invested in not only the instrument side and what the local businesses, could support. One of the things that's always been a core level of the business is making more music makers, to investing in helping children find the love of music. And so we still do that today with the same business model Tom Haggerty taught me, which was basically taught by his mentor, who said, it doesn't matter what it costs, get an instrument in the kids' hands. And so we make sure that we source high quality instruments. We make sure we don't do credit checks. We don't do anything. We go to these schools and we get band and orchestra instruments into the next generation. And we're so busy during that school season, just, fervor, trying these little kids, bright eyed, they want to play this violin, they have no idea what to do with it. And that's the future generation. All of my kids were in that orchestra program. They all play guitar now. And we're creating music makers and investing. So while we're doing that, we came to this juncture where Tom and Dan needed to find somebody to bring it to another level. So in 2015, I left the heavy equipment business and joined them in this venture. I was praying for something different to do. The writing was on the wall, and they let me into this business as a partner, and we ramped up experience. We brought in these key in-store experiences, and about 4 years later, they wanted to retire, and so I was able to buy them out, thankfully, by how gracious they were in allowing me to structure things the way they needed to be. It was a whole blessing. I mean, I have no business being, you know, an heir, if you will, to their company. And it's just, it's so humbling to be here and to be able to create a great environment, a great store, with the passion to make more music makers, to inspire new musicians and old musicians alike to come in to enjoy what music is together. It's just been fantastic. So today we've went from really nobody knew about what we were doing. And now, we are one of the top 10 stores in the industry for all major brands.
Wow.
And we continue to just try to push the envelope. We went from 13 employees, over 30 employees, from expanding our lesson program, expanding our repair, expanding our lines and how we're offering it. And we just really want to be a great resource for people and for companies like yourself, right? That's our passion. So it's been a fun journey.
Wow. I, it's so important that you create that experience in this world. In this world of no guitar shops. I mean, I'm 50 miles from one, and and there's one or maybe one in Santa Cruz. So I'm probably 125 miles from San Francisco, or Sausalito, or Berkeley, where there are a few stores, but there's really not that experience store that you talk about out here. We have some places and some great names involved with them, but we don't have that. And you have such a basin of Wyoming and Nebraska and South Dakota and North Dakota and Montana probably. You probably draw from 7 or 8 states.
Yeah, last summer we drew from Utah, we drew from Georgia, we drew from Washington. I mean, people literally driving here knowing, kind of like what you're talking about. You
Yeah.
can't go in, like you can walk in my store any given day and you'll have had a very, very broad and deep understanding of what's being done today. When you said something earlier, you said we're making the highest quality guitars today. We're at a level that we haven't been. And I would say, I mean, you can look at all the chatter online. I think that's everybody right now.
Yeah.
I am so thrilled in what other brands are doing and how they're pushing it, and everybody is elevating each other in a way that's amazing. And to the point of the experience, and to brag on your brand just a little bit, because this is your podcast and the importance of it.
Firefly.
So we have an old growth mahogany guitar that came in. Okay. Now, there's a lot of guitars in this store by a lot of great legacy brands. There's a young man who just released an album. He was the Deadwood singer-songwriter, a winner last year. His name's Johnny Hastings, and he collaborated with, some people in Nashville, traveled to Nashville, played all kinds of guitars in the shops in Nashville. He grew up in this town from the time he was, I think, 15, working in this store. And since then, in the last year and a half, he's done full-time music. Okay, so he released an album just recently. And, put yourself in the mind of a guy who's playing guitar every day, hours and hours a day, and he's writing, and he's quit his main job, and he's making it. And he's lived his whole life being able to touch the best guitars. Okay, we get this guitar in, and the guys tell him about it because he shows up, he's in between shows. He starts playing this guitar, and he keeps playing this guitar, and he can't think clear thoughts because he keeps thinking, oh my gosh, this I've never heard a guitar like this. This is incredible. Like, and he's like inspired, and he just keeps talking about it and trying to figure out, right? Like,
Yeah.
I can't believe this. So that this is a guy who maybe didn't think he needed inspiration. He didn't think he was looking for a guitar. He has guitars. He's writing. He's success, and this is opening something up in his mind and in his world that is truly phenomenal. And none of us who have a lot of guitars realized, like, you kind of get numb to things. You're like, well, yeah, I've played some good guitars, you know. Yep, there's a lot of good guitars out there. And then you're like, wow. And so it just goes to show you never know what you're going to get in. And the fine folks at Santa Cruz, somebody put some blood, sweat, and tears into this guitar, and the sourcing of the woods that you're talking about create a recipe that can still inspire somebody who you could maybe argue is so jaded about guitars and buying a guitar that it would be impossible for him to get excited about another guitar. I mean, he's been doing it for over 20 years, you know, and yet we were able to do that for him and create that, and it's just really fantastic. So that's one of the things when you talk about our story is you can't forget that in business. People matter, and we're all in a people business, you know. And
The
if we can
good,
inspire somebody, we did our job.
the good ones get played.
Yeah.
You know, the good ones get some wear, and the good ones get played. Yeah, that looks like, was that a Firefly?
I believe it is. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, it looks like a Firefly. Looks like there's an H13, and I think that might be an OMPW behind you, or just a straight OM.
Yeah, it's a straight OM. Yep. And yep, H13. Yeah, I mean, just fantastic. Like, we've been really blown away by these units, and um, I think that we're just so blessed to be able that to experience it, to carry it, to partner with you guys, and do some really neat builds. I think we have some pretty cool customs coming up that we dreamed up during the NAMM show, and so yeah, it's all part of the story. It's been fascinating.
It's an amazing crew up there. When you see the working together, and when you watch the operation, you know, in process. I do a lot of work with a local artist here, Keith Greninger. He's got 8 or 9 albums out and stuff like that. And Keith has a 40-year-old OM that he's had on the road for 40 years. And it's literally falling apart. He's played it to death.
Are we talking about Trigger here?
Yeah, we're talking about Trigger. And they're building him a new one. And 40 years he's been playing that guitar. You know, and it's been his road guitar, and everything about it. It's they keep coming back too for some reason. I don't know.
That's one of the things I think a lot of people start to realize after they've been playing for a little while is it doesn't really matter how many guitars you have. There's always going to be one or two that you bond with and just feel special or feel inspirational or however you want to approach it. And what I've found is so frequently Santa Cruz seems to specialize in building those kinds of guitars. And you pick one up and or you pick a few of them up and you play them and you realize each one has kind of a unique presence. And you'll find one that just grabs at you and just holds on to you, and you just realize this is the one I need. This is the one that's really going to work for me. And you know, there's some people who complain about the price, but when you look at it in terms of a life experience and something that you're going to hang on to for 10, 20, 30, well, depends on when you find it, however many years you have left. It's wonderful. It's just incredible. I envy the people who are able to feel that way about, you know, some of the $400 or $500 plywood guitars, but it, But unfortunately, that hasn't been me. I at one point, I got introduced to Santa Cruz and introduced to the higher end guitars, and there was no looking back. It's I've recognized this more because I'm just now starting down a road of electric guitars, which is like a completely different thing. And I'm still at that stage where, give me the $500 electric guitar, I'll try a few different ones because I'm still trying to feel them out and understand what they are as a thing. But one of these days I will find probably not a 57 Strat, but if you do have one in the back room, we can talk.
Not for $250.
I think it was 220. I think it was 225.
We are still accepting returns on that guitar, though. If you don't like it.
Okay. And I did return it. I returned it from my Les Paul Custom. Yeah, pretty nuts.
So, to piggyback off what you're talking about, there's something that happens in the industry. I feel like that really, our store and our story. One of the things that we try to bring up, and I think it's helpful to all guitarists to realize. So you wouldn't say if you, wanted to learn how to cook or you wanted to go and get a meal going. I've never known anybody who said, well, I'm not that experienced of an eater. I just don't have the palate right now and the ability to, really transform food. So I'm just going to cook a chuck roast instead for a steak. I'm just going to go ahead and get, something that looks like a steak, and I'm going to make that. And when I'm more experienced, then I'll buy a ribeye. When I'm really experienced, I'm going to buy a tenderloin. When I really know what I'm doing, I'm going to buy a tenderloin. And then it'll be okay to eat that tenderloin because I really know what I'm doing, right? That's not a world that exists. Like everybody's okay going to buy a ribeye steak. Everybody's okay, splurging on a tenderloin. Everybody understands that. But they do that to themselves, to your point on electrics. They do that with their guitars. And I'm here to tell you, if you pick up a 1961 Custom Shop SG from Gibson right now and you play that thing, it will move you. And you will probably play licks you've never played before. Yeah. I know because I owned one. And that happens with your guitars. It happens, there's an unlocking. An instrument teaches you how to play it. And that sounds mythical. It sounds unreal. But I remember that young man I was telling you about, Johnny Hastings, this 1961 SG was in my lap. He was playing it for a video we were shooting. And it sounded so good. I heard it from downstairs. I go up and I just look through the window. I'm like, what is he playing? He goes, come here. He puts it in my hand. I start playing it. He goes, man, I've never heard you play like that. You need to buy that guitar. and I tell people, and I got this line from something Gary Clark Jr. had told me. He has this Ibanez that he plays, Gary Clark Jr. He's got this really great old Ibanez and he said, dude, that's the guitar that taught me how to play, right? And when you unlock that, right, it's like, for instance, a tenderloin steak. A tenderloin should be tender. And if you do your job, it will reward you. And if you don't, it tells you. And so, we all have things that we make these compromises. And maybe we're a little bit too known for suggesting to people that they unlock that for themselves, right? Not allowing you to have your plywood guitar experience before you actually experience something real. Yamaha knows this when they train piano salespeople. They say, put your customer at an 8-foot grand piano and let them really know what a piano is. And then they can come down to whatever form of piano that they want. But let's not first educate people on what really what are we offering, right? And so that's what our store and our philosophy is you at any level, beginner, expert, you deserve the guitar that will teach you how to play. And like that G chord, that's not easy for a beginner. But for crying out loud, when you play it right, you want the guitar to let you know that you played it right and it sounds just like the recording. That's like my it's like my passion. Like people need to know this. And then the secondary thing, I always say like, well, why not hedge your money against inflation and play with it too? Right? Because guitars are art, right? Like look at this beauty.
Yeah.
It's art on the wall.
Yep.
People spend thousands and thousands of dollars on paintings that you can't play with. You can't fill in the colors. You don't get your crayons out for that, right? You're just staring at it. Well, that's cool,
Funny.
And then hopefully that artist is still relevant, but on a guitar, it's a piece of art. It tells a story.
Yeah.
A lot of passion went into it.
Yeah.
And, kind of like your guitars that you just mentioned that you bought from Haggerty's way back in the day. We all know what those are worth now. 2015, when I started in this store, I remember I could buy a Les Paul for $2,000. I remember that the American Strat was $1,000 basically. Today, they're going
Yeah.
more for we're selling used ones for more than that.
Yeah.
So it actually didn't cost you anything to own it. You just robbed yourself of enjoyment. And so my job is to help people understand like there's this beauty in art that's playable, that's actually an investment that makes sense, and it's going to move you and bring something more out of you. So that's what's so cool about guitars, right? You don't get that out of a set of golf clubs.
No.
It's actually the opposite.
Yeah. I was just thinking about what that would mean. It's it, because SCGC is a full custom shop. I know that among some of my friends, there's a real, well, how do I know I'm going to get something that I'm going to love? And the amount of time that Brenda and Richard will spend with a potential build or something like that, it's dialed in. I mean, I don't remember a dud coming out of there, and they can build it to what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Which is something else. And based on tradition and founded in science.
Yeah.
You think about the amount of work that they have gone through to build that wood vault in the back, and the pieces of that mahogany that you showed on the Firefly, and I think that that's a double O, the one with all the inlay. That's Brazilian.
Age 13.
No, it looks like Brazilian.
Oh.
That's a tunnel. That H13 is a tunnel top, I think.
Yeah.
If the wood's there, it's where you start. And his basis in the violin tradition just kicks it up to such a notch, and I don't know. It motivates you to play better. It motivates you to play more, and it motivates you to play better.
Yeah, and it's back to kind of my cooking analogy, right? Like what you're describing is when you have the right ingredients, and you have the vault, you have the fresh tomatoes, you have the freshest of tomatoes, and you have the chef with the knowledge right? You have the Michelin star chefs of craftsmen. And so obviously, when you have the right sourced ingredients and the right knowledge of craftsmen, if somebody desires something, a small guitar, triple O, double O size, doesn't matter, whatever, and they want the sinker top and they know that they like that sound, it's no different than going to a Michelin star chef and saying, okay, this is what I want, take your best ingredients. And you can, with confidence, know you are going to have an experience.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what you guys are,
What about a little food tasting room in Haggerty's?
I'm all for it.
You're making me hungry here.
That's
Well, I'll tell you, I was just so surprised when Bob talked to me about it, and he went, "Well, they just got Santa Cruz guitars," and I went, "Well, it sounds like a perfect podcast." But uh, boy, I think the store that I shopped in was on Front Street. I think I remember there being. I don't remember much about my Rapid experience. I was there about 8 years. In fact, I actually owned a recording studio there. We built it out kind of out by the freeway, and I remember there was one little studio in town, and he had a 4-track reel to reel, like a TIAC or something like that. And we went in there we went in and made a record, and sounded terrible, and it was an unhappy experience. So I just figured, well, it looks like there would really be a market for a recording studio, because Denver was the only other place you could go really in the area. And it was a good 3-year experience. I mean, I'm glad I did it. I certainly learned a lot about it, but it was interesting to have a place where people could go and work like that. And unfortunately, we were next door to a tin roofing company that was pretty loud, so we had to figure out how to work around them. But I have really fond memories of Rapid. Haven't been there since probably the mid to late 80s. And I can imagine that it's grown substantially.
It has. In fact, we have a lot of, a lot of people from all over, like, California and Texas and Florida. One of the things that we have is some of the most beautiful scenery. We sit at the foot of the Black Hills. So, I mean, for those listeners who aren't aware, we're right half hour away from Mount Rushmore, about an hour and a half from Devil's Tower, about an hour away from the Badlands. And so not only can you come and have a great music store experience, but you can just have a great family experience. You can have a great, um, you could spend a week here just being blown away by the natural beauty and the creation and the monuments and the stories. Deadwood is about an hour away. Big, Wild Bill was shot in Deadwood, and go gamble at that casino, Saloon 10. You can go and you can do all the things. And it's really a special area and a fantastic place to live, So we've been having more and more people come in, which helps us build our store and make a great experience.
Yeah, your outdoor experience is certainly one that is pretty unrivaled, just with what's out there. And winter sports, you have. I know one of our band members was a skier, and he'd go up to Montana all the time to ski, and he'd go over to Wyoming to ski. And I don't remember that there was much skiing in the Black Hills, but
there's one place, Terry Peak, and this year has been.
Yeah.
I think we had some Januaries that hit 79 degrees, which is, it just keeps getting warmer. But we're not Santa Cruz, California. We're not, you guys are the epicenter of doing everything right? Surfing and skiing and all that within hours. Like you guys have a lockdown, but I would like to think we can put on a pretty good show. So all that to say, if there's any listeners out there trying to justify a family vacation where you just happen to find yourself with your family in an area where there's a lot of guitars and you just happen to have a souvenir that looks like it's a guitar, this is it's in for the running. It's
That's
a good
worth it.
plan.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, but you're moving beyond. I mean, just to get back to your future plans, you're moving beyond just being a large retail store. You're expanding your presence online. So if people want to buy a guitar from you without necessarily traveling to South Dakota, that's perfectly capable of doing that right now as well.
Yeah, I think today 80% of our business is online.
Wow.
Some of that's driven because with some interesting sales tax laws, we don't have to charge sales tax if you call in, and that's helpful. And the other thing, I mean, I'm just so proud of my team because they're all musicians. They're all people like your stories that you're telling about your time here. They're all people in bands. They're all people who care. And my mantra to them is I want you to think about how hard somebody works for their money and
Yeah.
how long they have to save
Yeah.
and how long they vacillate over what to buy and how long they research. And when they finally land on that product that they're excited about, they tell all their band buddies, "Oh, I'm going to get this thing. Oh, I'm so excited. This is going to be this. Oh, just wait. This is going to be great." And then it shows up and they unbox it. And what if it's not set up right? What if it wasn't packaged right? What if it was damaged, smudged? We don't want that to happen. And everybody knows that. We want your experience to be as great as we can. So these guys inspect it, they check it, they take huge amount of personal satisfaction in making sure because we're all musicians and we don't need to make a quick buck,
Yeah.
right? We need people to go, wow,
Yeah.
that was great. And of
You
course,
You
our
need people to
reviews.
come back 40 or 50 years later and have a
Yeah,
podcast about your shop.
yeah, that's what we need. And Bob Margaret, he's walking proof, and
Yeah.
so are all the 5-star reviews that just rave about some of these guys. You always get some people who are difficult to deal with. You get some people who are unrealistic, but man, my team cares. And so that's one of the things that's catapulted us online is, we want to treat people how we want to be treated.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great.
So I got to ask, you got 30 employees, I think you said now?
Or more, yeah.
Okay. Is there an in-store band?
There's been a lot of attempts and conversations about it, but nothing solid right now. We certainly have the ability. I would
Yeah.
put it
So
that
no
way.
singles coming out, no albums
There's-
planned in the near future.
Yeah, we'll let Mr. Paul Reed Smith have the award for the best in-house band, perhaps. I don't know.
There's a pretty
But
good
yeah,
band in Santa Cruz in the shop actually when you get them when you get them focused on it, and get them off the setup bench or you get them off the spray booth, there's some pretty fine players in the company.
we have that as well. Our luthier is unbelievable. He thinks he's terrible, and he's just mind-blowing. He's the kindest, humblest, most talented repair guy I've ever seen. And we have some other guys they have some singles out, they have some albums out. There's a lot of love for music around here, but no full staff band action right now. Some of us play at our churches, and a lot of the team is involved in church music and taking our time to do that kind of stuff. So being resources for those kind of situations has been a passion for, I would say, about 7 of us.
I think having full service with a repair department and a band department, I think that's fantastic. I mean, I started playing trombone in 5th grade, and I was terrible. And when a guitar came along in 8th grade, it was the end. For me, it was the trombone went away, and get rid of the thing. But just having that full service, especially in your location for people traveling through or things like that, to have that accessibility and to have somebody that can put something back together if it comes apart, and stuff does come apart. I mean, it can come apart.
It sure
or
does.
or get crashed or dropped or whatever happens to it. Uh, Marcus, I can't thank you enough for doing this. I think I really appreciate you taking the time, and I'm I'm so joyful that I can have this conversation 50 years later.
Hmm.
That I can really have this conversation and know that there's stuff out there, because guitar stores are dropping by the.
Yeah.
We had a couple bad years there where they just went away,
Yeah.
and people are. I mean, I've never bought anything from Sweetwater. I've never bought anything really from Guitar Center except from the used section. When I stumbled on something that was really great. Um, so that the local guitar store, it just can't enough be said about it.
Yeah.
And the fact, a local guitar store that's committed to music and committed to being good. I'll tell you a funny story. You said people taking vacation there. I was up in the dealer in Santa Cruz, and I was there first thing in the morning because I'm good friends with Mike, and this family came in and they were all in shorts, and in Santa Cruz, I mean, you can see me dressed in two shirts and a sweater right now. It's 55 degrees here, and we haven't seen the
Which is
sun.
cold for us.
Yeah, I haven't seen. Yeah, and then we're gonna get a cold front, but I haven't seen the sun in like 4 or 5 days because I live so close to the water, and this family walked in and they were all wearing shorts, and that's a pretty big flag right there, and the kids were kind of running around, and the dad went into the room and picked up a Santa Cruz, and I had my back to it, and he played about three chords on it, and it was a head snapping moment. I mean, he just went wow, and you could hear it from two kids running around a music store and other stuff that was going on in there, and this guy had picked up an OM, an SCGC OM, and these guys have a lot of great brands, and he'd picked this up, and it was just like, yep, we made a pilgrimage here. You know, we walked the path to come here, and they hung around for 45 minutes, and I think he bought some strings and he bought a couple things like that, and a little bit of that, but it really was a family experience, and I could see it in this guy's face. I mean, you could just see that he had just never touched anything like that before.
Hmm.
And you'll get that with especially, I'm sure you probably have the what's Bob's Highline, the Builder's Edition, or that, yeah.
Yeah.
There's really a lot of really really great guitars out there right now, and people talk about the golden age of Martin and things, and I think we're completely living in the golden age of instruments right now. Everything
Yeah.
is pretty good.
Well, and any of us who've played, I have a 1942 Martin that's kind of that's sits in my living room right now. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And it's really great, but it does not play as well as, anything new. And I've played those 57, 8, 9 Les Pauls, and I wouldn't gig with one if you gave me one. We have such great guitars, but to your point about the kids in the store and that whole story, one of the things that I think is worth noting, I'm imagining who's listening to this podcast. And I always kind of think about like who's made it this far into the podcast at this point. Who's got that attention
We actually
span?
have a great listening rate all the way to the end.
And so one of the things that I tell parents and other, future, grandparents, etc., is I go back to my own children and I go back to this idea of planting seeds, right? That guy in that guitar cars, somebody planted a seed for him. The fact that that dealer had a Santa Cruz, he planted a seed. We don't know when the fruit's going to get picked, but our job, right? We plant seeds in our children. And so I look back when my youngest daughter was 8 and I had 3 more behind her of, 3 kids waiting. I bought a baby Taylor and I thought, I'm going to give this to them and maybe they'll play it. Well, they banged on it for a couple days and then it just sat there and it sat there. But then she wanted a ukulele. And so I got her a ukulele for her birthday. And she banged on it, but then guess what? She actually ended up picking it up and playing it, having some success. Then she picked up the Taylor guitar, played it and had some success, and realized, I don't want that thing, how that sounds. I'll pick up dad's, thousands of dollars Taylor guitar and I'll play that instead and scratch it. And so all my kids played my guitar, but we had it accessible. Okay.
Yeah.
It was accessible because we're in the business of making music makers, planting seeds, passing the joy on. And so if you're a parent listening right now and you have kids, just because you buy it and you put it there, just make it accessible, but don't force it. Plant the seed and it's gonna, water it and you're gonna have a guitar player. Now all of my kids who started an orchestra all play guitar. I was a trumpet player. I play guitar. I still can play trumpet, but I play guitar primarily and drums. So you just don't know. I have a daughter who's an opera singer. And it's like you don't know where it's going to go, but make it accessible and be intentional about it. You don't have to force it, right? So I just think back to my past, my kids, they're all adults now, basically out of the house. And all of us are just planting seeds, and that's the great thing about the music industry. One guy inspires you with a song about, one thing, the song Jersey Giant. I don't know if you guys have heard that. Evan Horner and Eva DeGrazzi. And suddenly there's all these 18, 19, 16-year-olds playing this folk song and folk music's taken off.
Billy Strings.
Billy Strings, Molly Tuttle.
30,000 people in arenas every night. If you would have told me 4 years ago that there would be an artist that would draw 30,000 people nightly to listen to bluegrass.
Unheard of.
Yeah, unheard of. I'm real good friends with one of the Santa Cruz artists, Eric Sky, so is Tad. And I did a lot of Eric's videos for a while, and Eric lives up in Portland, and I drive up to Portland at night, and his son was kind of growing up then, and he wanted to play electric guitar, and Eric was saying he's waking up to smoke on the water in the morning and stuff like that. So I had like an Epiphone Les Paul, and I took it up and gave it to him, and we kind of, the kid, he went through school, he finished high school, and he went to college, and he studied, he went to University of Oregon, and he studied business. He now lives in San Francisco. He's unbelievably successful at 24 or something like that. And Eric had given him one of the Baby Martins. And he, Eric said last time he saw him a couple months ago, they're riding around and listening to country music, and Eric's so far from country music that, I'm surprised he didn't break out in hives while he was in the car. And he said all of a sudden, Ethan's going, maybe send me, maybe I should look for a better guitar. Where he'd completely gone away from it. But the seed, as you say, the seed was there.
Yeah.
And now it's his way out. you know.
Yeah, and sometimes it doesn't come to fruition like that. And that's the other thing, where we focus a bit on guitars and as investments, being in the unique situation that we're in. Um, I had a gentleman who was about 68 come into the store, and he had something in the case, and he goes, "Hey, my mom bought this for me when I was 14 or whatever." And I just put it under my bed and I haven't played it. I thought I wanted to learn guitar, but I just want to sell it now. And I open up this case and it's a Gibson. You can do the math. The guy's 68. His mom bought it at 14. And I look at him and I'm like, I don't know if you want to sell this. This is a really cool guitar. And he goes, No, I'm not going to play it. Just would rather have the money. Okay. Well, that mom, what she paid for that guitar?
Yeah, sure.
Nothing, right? In today's terms. And if she would have bought an Ibanez or a Yamaha,
Wasn't available.
it would, whatever. If we took
Yeah.
it in today's world, if you would have got an old Harmony, maybe, or whatever,
Yeah.
it would have been worth maybe a few $100. But today he sells that guitar and he's got this nest egg that's super awesome. And that's kind of, I tell people that. I'm like, if you want to buy your kid a guitar, you could buy a USA Les Paul. And if they don't play it, worst case, they get rid of it in 40 years and they've got some cash because
Yeah.
nothing's getting cheaper.
Yeah.
Or you could, spend $400 on something that's factory produced in China and they're not going to have anything. And in fact, it's just probably going to be firewood, right? So, it doesn't always pan out, but good guitars made with, good guitars that are made in the USA still, to me, man, it is worth every penny.
Handmade, handed down.
And you guys do it like what's really cool about your story and what you're doing. There's a lot of companies who are hand building guitars and they've grown and they've had to find ways. They've decided to find ways to scale larger, which is fine. Hand building something in every step of the way, no different than a chef tasting every ingredient going into the pot, creates a different product. And
Growing,
so
growing is herbs.
yeah.
Yeah.
So what you have is a brand that is still OG, right? You guys are the originals and fantastic product that holds its own against quicker produced models. And so, yeah, I really appreciate it. And I think the time even that it's taken to get some of these customs, the time, the love, the care that goes into those things, man, it's so fun to have something like that and to see that good things like that are still worth the money, right?
Yeah.
Well, and SCGC's goal, and I think our goal as well, is to support local music shops, especially ones like yours that carry these guitars so that musicians can get their hands on them and actually play them and experience them and understand. Because when you have a company that only makes 400 or 500 guitars or 600 guitars a year, it can be hard for musicians to get a chance to actually get their hands on one and experience what a really wonderful instrument can be.
Yeah.
They rely on dealers like you who have them hanging on the wall and give people that opportunity to pick them up and play a few chords and realize, wow, this is so much different from what I've experienced in the past. So more power to what you're doing.
Yeah. Marcus,
Um,
thanks so much.
yeah.
Oh,
Before we leave though, you want to tell people how they can find you, where they can reach you, how they can get in touch?
And we'll put all this
We'll put it up as well,
put it up
but
as well. Yeah.
yeah. Well, you can see all of our inventory the best on haggertysmusic.com. And we always love a phone call. We always love to discuss it. We have some knowledgeable people, and if we can't if we can't get you the answer, we will find it. But we love a phone call. We have a staff who's yeah, just really great. So haggertysmusic.com, you'll see all the inventory. That's our preferred method. We do have a reverb shop, but as you know, that takes a lot of fees, and it's just always a better experience if you come to haggertysmusic.com. And if you have the opportunity to hop on there and look at everything that we have, I think you'll be very, very shocked. But that is definitely the best method. Uh, Everybody always says like and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, all that kind of thing. But subscribing to our newsletter would be a great way to know kind of first in of what we have. Because one of the unique things, if you're a music lover and if you're on this podcast, I feel like Santa Cruz is an upper echelon company for sure. And generally, you want to know things first. Sometimes there's models getting released you want your hands on as an investment. And we are one of those companies that is getting those models and getting those phone calls. And so we're always happy to do that. Of course, the best experience, the best experience is hop in your car and come to the beautiful Black Hills sometime between now and maybe November.
Yeah.
And if people are planning a trip, they can always give you a call to get some recommendations on where to stay and places that are close to the music shop.
You may have keyed in, but I love telling people where they need to eat in town.
There you
Perfect.
go. Right. All that was there when I was there was Taco John, so I'm sure.
Oh man.
I'm sure it's changed a little bit since then. Marcus, thank you so much for your time. Go have a fantastic day.
Hey, you
Yeah.
guys too. Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, I
It's been a
love you.
blessing.
Good
All right.
job.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
We hope you enjoyed this installment of the Santa Cruz Coffee Break. For more music-related fun, please join the Santa Cruz Guitar Players Forum at SCGCPF or santacruzguitarplayers.com. If you have any questions or possible podcast topics, please contact us. If you have a product or service that you feel would be of value to our listeners, please consider adding your support and keeping the coffee pot on. Contact us for more information. We ask that you hit the like, follow, bell, or bookmark buttons so we can keep you informed of upcoming podcast episodes. We hope you enjoyed Santa Cruz Coffee Break. Now it's time to go